He had always wondered if love could truly survive everything, or if it was just a beautiful illusion fueled by comfort, wealth, and convenience. For years, he had lived a life that most would consider perfect. A thriving career, a luxurious home, and a wife who seemed devoted and affectionate. Yet, despite all this, a gnawing doubt lingered in his mind. The question he could never silence. Did she love him for who he was, or for what he had? Every day, he observed her in small ways, looking for signs of genuine affection. Did she notice when he was upset? Did she care when he returned from long trips tired and drained? On the surface, everything seemed normal. She smiled when he entered the room, laughed at his jokes, and occasionally left small notes expressing love. But beneath these gestures, he sensed a faint distance. A subtle calculation in her eyes that left him unsettled. It was not that she had ever said anything hurtful or disloyal. On the contrary, she seemed perfect in every sense. But he had grown up in a world where trust was a luxury, and life had taught him to question everything. He remembered stories of friends and acquaintances whose marriages had crumbled when wealth was involved, where affection had vanished the moment the fortune was gone. He didn't want to be another story of betrayal. He needed certainty. Late at night, he would lie awake, replaying moments over and over in his mind. The way she had reacted when he mentioned a large bonus at work, the way she had seemed indifferent to a thoughtful gift he had given months ago, and the way she subtly suggested changes to their lifestyle that benefited her more than him. Each memory was like a tiny seed of doubt growing in his heart. One evening, after a particularly long day at work, he found himself walking through their home, observing the life they had built together. Expensive furniture, elegant decor, and every luxury he could provide. Yet the house felt hollow. It was as if the very walls were echoing his fears. He realized that wealth could create comfort, but it could also create illusions. Maybe she loved the comfort more than him. Maybe her love was a reflection of security and convenience rather than genuine emotion. The thought haunted him for days. He tried to push it away, but every smile, every gentle touch, seemed tainted by suspicion. He needed a plan, a way to uncover the truth without causing harm. He knew that confrontation might lead to defensiveness or resentment. He needed a method that would reveal her true feelings without forcing her hand. It was during a solitary walk one night that the idea came to him. It's almost like a spark in the darkness. He could disappear, make the world believe he was gone, and observe her reactions from afar. It was risky, dangerous even, but it promised the clarity he craved. If she truly loved him, she would grieve, seek him out, and remain loyal. If not, the facade would crumble, and he would see her true colors. The plan was not simple. It required meticulous preparation, careful planning, and absolute secrecy. He started by researching methods to disappear without leaving a trace, studying cases of staged deaths and fake disappearances. He learned about the legal and logistical complications, the need for credible evidence of death, and the ways to remain undetected while observing from a distance. Each step was calculated, each risk assessed. He created false documents, arranged for a plausible accident, and prepared financial and digital contingencies to ensure she would not suspect a setup. It was a delicate balance. The disappearance had to be convincing, yet he had to remain safe and able to monitor the situation. He knew one wrong move could ruin everything. But the thought of finally knowing the truth fueled his determination. Meanwhile, he began to observe her more closely. Not out of suspicion alone, but to gather insights into her routines, habits, and relationships. He wanted to understand how she might react in his absence. Was her attachment genuine, or was it tied to the life they shared? Every interaction became a clue. Every conversation a piece of the puzzle. The day of the staged disappearance arrived, and he felt a mixture of anxiety and resolve. He enacted the plan with precision, leaving behind a scenario that would convince everyone, including her, that he was gone. It was a surreal experience, watching the life he had built slip away in an instant, knowing that everything now depended on how she responded. From a safe distance, he observed the immediate aftermath. The shock in her eyes, the disbelief, the frantic phone calls. It was all exactly as he had anticipated. She seemed genuinely distressed, her movements erratic, her voice trembling as she spoke to friends and family. Yet, he knew that grief could be performative. The real test would unfold over days, weeks, and months. As he continued to watch, he noticed subtle behaviors that revealed more than words ever could. She visited places they had shared memories, lingered over personal belongings, and seemed to search for him in ways that suggested both love and dependency. He recorded each observation meticulously, knowing that every detail mattered, yet not everything was straightforward. There were moments that confused him, times when she appeared distracted or impatient, moments when her attention seemed divided. Doubts resurfaced, gnawing at the edge of his mind. Love, he realized, was never simple, and human emotions were rarely pure or absolute. They were complex, layered, and often contradictory. Days turned into weeks, and he remained hidden, watching the intricate dance of her emotions. He saw her cry in private, smile at memories, and confide in friends. He noticed her struggles, her fears, and her attempts to navigate life without him. Each observation painted a more nuanced picture of who she truly was and how she related to him. Through it all, he began to understand that love was not a single static emotion. It was a series of choices, actions, and commitments that revealed themselves over time. He saw the ways she cared for their home, maintained connections, and tried to preserve what they had built. He also saw her flaws, her vulnerabilities, and her moments of self-interest. It was a complex tapestry, one that could not be easily categorized as true or false. As he prepared for the next phase of his plan, he realized that the journey had already changed him. The experiment was no longer just about testing her love. It was about understanding the depths of human emotion, the fragility of trust, and the courage it took to truly connect with another person. He had set out to uncover the truth. But he had also discovered something profound about himself. By the end of the first part of his journey, he understood that love could not be measured solely by actions or appearances. It was a living, breathing force, unpredictable and resilient, capable of revealing its strength in the most unexpected ways. And as he watched her navigate the uncertainty of his absence, he knew that the answers he sought would require patience, empathy, and a willingness to embrace the complexities of the heart. After he had staged his disappearance, the days that followed were more revealing than he could have imagined. Observing from a safe distance, he saw her struggle to navigate the emptiness he had left behind. Her initial shock had begun to settle into a kind of restless determination, and that was when he realized how much she relied on the life they'd built together. She moved through the house as if each room reminded her of him. The kitchen, where they had shared late-night meals. The living room, where laughter and conversation had flowed. The bedroom, where quiet moments of comfort had been theirs. She lingered over his belongings, brushing her fingers over items he had once held, and he felt a strange mixture of sorrow and relief. She seemed genuinely lost without him, but he still needed to understand the depths of her emotions. Every day he watched her interactions with friends and family. She spoke to them about him, about the life they had shared, but there was something different in her voice. It was not just grief, it was worry, frustration, and even occasional impatience. He realized that love was not a constant state. It was tested in moments of uncertainty, in the quiet hours when no one else was watching. And it was in those moments that he could finally see her true self. One evening, he noticed her standing at the window, staring out into the night with a faraway look in her eyes. Her face reflected sadness, yes, but also determination. She seemed to be making plans, thinking about how to move forward. The realization struck him that she was not just mourning his absence. She was confronting it, trying to understand it, trying to find a way to adapt. Love, he thought, was as much about resilience as it was about passion. Her friends had begun to notice changes as well. They called her, visited her, and tried to offer comfort, but she seemed distant at times, distracted by thoughts of him. He saw her confide in a close friend, someone she trusted completely. She spoke with honesty, revealing insecurities and fears that he had never heard before. There were moments when she questioned herself, wondering if she had done enough, if she had truly shown her love. Those moments were raw, unguarded, and he felt a pang of guilt for putting her through this. even if it was for the sake of truth. As the weeks passed, he observed patterns emerging. She visited places that held memories, she took time to reflect, and she reached out to those who had been part of their shared life. He saw her laugh at memories, cry quietly when she thought no one could see, and carry on with a dignity that surprised him. This was not the love of convenience or comfort. It was complicated, imperfect, and real. Yet, there were challenges too. She faced moments of temptation, opportunities where life could have led her in different directions. He watched her wrestle with decisions that tested her integrity. Sometimes she faltered in small ways, an impatient glance, a frustrated word, but the core of her affection remained. He began to understand that true love was not about perfection, it was about effort, commitment, and the willingness to navigate life's uncertainties together. During this time, he also began to notice his own transformation. Watching her struggle and reflect made him more empathetic, more aware of human vulnerability. He realized that his experiment was revealing not just her character but his own. He'd always valued certainty, control, and outcomes. But now he began to see the beauty of unpredictability, of emotions that could not be neatly measured or calculated. He devised subtle ways to observe her without being detected. From distant locations, he could see her routines, her interactions, and her decisions. He noted how she managed finances, how she maintained their home, and how she approached relationships with others. Each observation added depth to his understanding of her character. He saw patience, resilience, and honesty interwoven with moments of doubt, insecurity, and human weakness. She was not perfect, but she was genuine, one particularly revealing. The moment came when she received news that required immediate attention. A sudden family crisis forced her to make decisions without guidance, and he watched as she handled the situation with a balance of compassion and practicality. She reached out to others for help when necessary, but she also took responsibility and acted decisively. It was in these high-pressure moments that her true nature emerged, and he felt a mixture of admiration and relief as he continued to observe. He noticed that her behavior toward him, though he was absent, remained centered on shared memories and values. She preserved traditions they had established together, maintained rituals that had been important to their relationship, and even spoke fondly of him in conversations with friends and family. These actions, he realized, were expressions of love that went beyond words or appearances. They were rooted in respect, memory, and connection. However, there were also signs of struggle. She grappled with moments of loneliness, questioned her choices, and occasionally expressed regret. These moments made him reflect on the complexities of love and human nature. No person could act with unwavering devotion at all times, and no relationship could escape challenges and doubts. It was the willingness to return, to persist, and to care even when circumstances were difficult that defined the strength of love. He also began to see subtle shifts in her priorities. Without him physically present, she had to navigate responsibilities that had once been shared. She adapted, demonstrating resourcefulness and independence, but he saw that she also missed the partnership they had. The absence highlighted what their relationship meant to her and how deeply intertwined their lives had become. Love, he realized, was revealed not just in presence, but also in how one coped with absence. Through this process, he learned the importance of observation, reflection, and patience. He did not rush to judgment, nor did he expect immediate clarity. Emotions unfolded gradually, and human behavior revealed itself in layers. Each day added nuance, each interaction offered insight, and he became increasingly aware that love was an evolving experience rather than a fixed state. By the end of the second part of his experiment, he had gathered a wealth of understanding. He had seen her navigate grief, struggle with choices, adapt to challenges, and maintain a sense of self. He had witnessed vulnerability, strength, imperfection, and authenticity. The picture of her love was becoming clearer, but he knew that the final test had yet to come. The true measure of devotion would emerge in moments of confrontation, revelation, and reconciliation. Until then, he remained hidden, learning, observing, and reflecting on the complex tapestry of human connection. Weeks passed, and he remained in the shadows, observing the nuances of her life and the way she adjusted to his absence. By now, he could see that grief had shifted from shock to a persistent ache, a quiet, unspoken presence in everything she did. She moved carefully, almost as if navigating through invisible obstacles, and each action revealed layers of her character he had never fully appreciated. He watched her visit the places they had loved together, the small cafe where they had shared countless breakfasts, the park where they had walked hand in hand, the little bookstore they had discovered on a rainy day. In each place, she lingered longer than necessary, as if searching for traces of him, for echoes of the life they had shared. It was in these moments he realized the depth of memory and attachment, and how love is often measured in the small, almost invisible gestures of remembrance. Her friends became a lifeline. They reached out often, bringing meals, offering company, and listening patiently as she recounted memories and feelings. Yet he noticed that while she accepted their support, she often returned to solitude, needing to process her emotions alone. There was a dignity in this solitude, a sense of personal reckoning that spoke volumes about her character. She was not merely performing grief. She was feeling it, wrestling with it, and learning to live with it. He was surprised by how much he was learning about human resilience. The strength she exhibited was quiet but steadfast. She faced moments of doubt and temptation, yet she persisted. She resisted the allure of comfort and distraction, choosing instead to honor the bond they had shared. Each day brought small victories in her emotional journey, and he felt a growing respect and admiration for her ability to navigate the complexities of love and loss. He also observed her practical side. She managed finances carefully, kept up with household responsibilities, and made decisions with thoughtfulness and foresight. It was clear that her love for him was intertwined with her sense of responsibility and her desire to honor the life they had built together. He realized that love, in its truest form, is not just about emotion, it is also about care, respect, and dedication. One day she received a letter that caused her visible distress. She read it several times, her face a mixture of fear, confusion, and sorrow. He watched her pace, clutching the paper tightly, and he realized that life would continue to test her in ways that had nothing to do with his absence. How she handled challenges, both expected and unexpected, would reveal as much about her character as any response to his disappearance. He admired her strength and her capacity to confront difficulties with courage. He noticed the subtle changes in her social life as well. She became more introspective, choosing her interactions carefully. Some acquaintances faded from her daily routine, while deeper connections strengthened. He saw her invest in meaningful relationships, seeking those who could offer genuine support rather than superficial comfort. This shift reflected a deepening understanding of herself and her values, personal growth that he had not anticipated but found inspiring. Meanwhile, he grappled with his own emotions. Observing her struggle and grow was not without cost to his heart. He felt pride in her resilience, love for her authenticity, and yet a pang of guilt for having put her through this ordeal. He questioned the morality of his experiment, knowing that even as it revealed the truth, it also caused pain. The complexity of human emotions was mirrored in his own experience, and he found himself confronting doubts about control, trust, and the very nature of love. He also began to see moments of vulnerability that humanized her even further. She cried quietly in the dark, whispered memories aloud, and sometimes faltered under the weight of her emotions. These moments were not signs of weakness, but of honesty and depth. They revealed the parts of herself she could not conceal, the raw edges of her character that no one could fabricate. In these moments, he understood that authenticity, even when painful, was a cornerstone of love. As the weeks turned into months, he noticed that she was starting to plan for the future. She made small decisions to improve her life, explored new opportunities, and cautiously considered paths that would allow her to grow without him. In every plan there was an invisible thread of memory, a silent acknowledgement of the bond they had shared. She was not simply moving on. She was integrating his absence into her life in a way that respected their connection while allowing her to endure and evolve. He also became attuned to her moments of doubt and fear. Sometimes she questioned her choices. Sometimes she wondered if she could continue without him. Yet she never allowed fear to dominate her actions. She faced her challenges with thoughtfulness, weighing options and considering consequences. It was a quiet, deliberate strength that he admired deeply, a testament to her character and the sincerity of her love. Through this prolonged observation, he realized that love cannot be measured by grand gestures alone. It is often reflected in the quiet endurance, the thoughtful decisions, and the capacity to remain connected even in absence. Was loving not just in words or appearances, but in the way she maintained their shared values, preserved memories, and carried forward responsibilities. Her love was active, engaged, and resilient. One evening, he witnessed her visiting a memorial bench in the park where they had often sat. She placed a small flower there, touched the wood with her fingers, and spoke softly, as if sharing a secret. Her eyes glistened with tears, yet her posture was firm and deliberate. He recognized in this moment that her affection was not fleeting or superficial. It was grounded in experience, memory, and commitment. She was processing loss, honoring the past, and yet not allowing grief to immobilize her. He found himself reflecting on the broader implications of human connection. Observing her had taught him about patience, empathy, and the complexity of emotions. He understood that love is not simply a feeling to be tested or proven. It is an ongoing practice, a series of choices and actions that reveal themselves over time. It is resilient, yet fragile, simple in appearance, but intricate in its reality. As the third part of his journey unfolded, he recognized that the experiment had reached a critical phase. The initial shock and grief had settled into a deeper understanding, and the choices she made in this period would reveal the core of her character. He remained hidden, observing without interference, aware that every decision, every reaction, and every quiet moment contributed to the unfolding truth. He realized that while he had set out to test her love, the experience was teaching him far more about humanity than he had anticipated. He saw the strength and vulnerability, the courage and persistence, and the depth of connection that can survive absence and uncertainty. And in this revelation, he began to comprehend that love is never simple, never guaranteed, and yet infinitely valuable when it is real, authentic, and earned through lived experience. By the time the fourth phase of his observation began, he had seen her grow in ways he had not anticipated. The initial shock of his disappearance had faded, replaced by a kind of quiet determination that carried her through each day. He watched her navigate her world with care, facing each challenge with a thoughtful approach that revealed a deepening inner strength. She continued to honor their shared memories. The small rituals they had established together remained central to her days. She maintained the home as they had envisioned it, preserved objects that held significance, and kept a journal of moments they had experienced together. These actions were subtle, yet powerful indicators of love. It was not about dramatic displays or declarations. It was about consistency, mindfulness, and respect for what they had shared. Friends and family observed the changes as well. They commented on her resilience, her newfound independence, and her capacity to endure hardship without losing her sense of self. He noticed that she began to inspire others with her quiet determination, showing that love could coexist with strength, responsibility, and grace. Her actions were not performative. They were authentic, revealing the depth of her character in ways that words could not capture. He paid attention to how she handled everyday responsibilities. She managed her finances, continued her work, and cared for her surroundings with a balance of efficiency and care. There was an elegance to her approach, a sense of integrity that permeated her decisions. Even when faced with frustration or fatigue, she persisted without complaint, demonstrating that love is intertwined with commitment and accountability. One afternoon, he observed her sitting in a quiet corner of the park, reflecting on the past and contemplating the future. Her expression was thoughtful, her posture relaxed, yet deliberate. She wrote notes, sketched ideas, and considered possibilities. In these moments, he realized that love is not static. It grows, evolves, and adapts. Her capacity to honor the past while planning for the future revealed a balance that was both rare and admirable. There were moments that tested her resilience further. She encountered unexpected challenges, both practical and emotional, and he observed how she responded. She did not shy away from difficulty, nor did she seek to avoid discomfort. Instead, she confronted obstacles with careful thought, weighing her options and considering the impact of her actions. It was a testament to her character that she remained steadfast. Even when faced with uncertainty, her social interactions became increasingly meaningful. She sought out connections that provided genuine support, nurtured friendships that were reciprocal and sincere, and distanced herself from superficial or draining relationships. He observed how she valued quality over quantity in human connection, reflecting and understanding that love and care require attention, reciprocity, and authenticity. Throughout this period, he noticed her moments of vulnerability, moments when she allowed herself to feel deeply, to grieve, to question, and to hope. These moments were private, unguarded, and powerful. They revealed that love is not only about visible actions, but also about the silent, internal processes that shape how a person navigates life and relationships. Her vulnerability was intertwined with resilience, creating a portrait of authenticity that he had longed to see. He also began to understand the emotional landscape of absence. Her responses to his disappearance were layered, reflecting a combination of grief, longing, introspection, and adaptation. She did not simply wait for him to return. She engaged with her world, made choices, and continued to live fully even amidst uncertainty. Love, he realized, is resilient not because it is easy, but because it persists despite challenges. During this period, she encountered opportunities that tested the boundaries of her loyalty. Offers of comfort, companionship, and distraction appeared, yet she remained focused on the bond they had shared. There were moments of temptation and doubt, but she did not allow these moments to dictate her behavior. Instead, she reflected, paused, and chose actions that aligned with her values. Her commitment was not blind. It was thoughtful, deliberate, and grounded in the reality of their shared experiences. He also observed how she managed moments of emotional overwhelm. She cried, laughed, reminisced, and expressed frustration, yet always returned to a state of composure. These fluctuations were natural, human, and revealing. They showed that love is not a constant state of bliss or certainty. It is a dynamic process that involves negotiation, reflection, and adaptation. As the days continued, he noticed subtle but meaningful gestures. She spoke fondly of him in conversations, preserved traditions, and honored shared dreams. These actions, though small, were profound indicators of affection and respect. They revealed a love that was enduring, capable of surviving absence, and resilient in the face of uncertainty. Her independence and personal growth were equally striking. She explored interests she had neglected, pursued projects that brought fulfillment, and engaged with her community in meaningful ways. Yet she did so without diminishing the bond they had shared. It was a testament to the idea that love can coexist with personal growth, that it does not require sacrifice of identity, but rather flourishes when nurtured alongside self-discovery. He also saw her moments of introspection, where she grappled with questions of morality, responsibility, and loyalty. She reflected on her feelings, assessed her actions, and made choices that were both ethical and heartfelt. In these moments, he realized that true love involves not just affection, but conscious decision-making, ethical reflection, and emotional accountability. By observing her navigate these experiences, he began to appreciate the complexity of human relationships. Love is not linear. It is multifaceted, challenging, and often contradictory. It requires empathy, patience, and a willingness to engage with uncertainty. Through her actions, he saw the embodiment of these qualities, the manifestation of a love that is both profound and enduring. Toward the end of this phase, he reflected on the lessons he had learned. The experiment had started as a test of loyalty, that had evolved into a study of character, resilience, and the human capacity for love. He saw her authenticity, her courage, and her integrity. He saw how she navigated grief and challenge, maintained connections, and grew as an individual. Love, he realized, is revealed not in the absence of struggle, but in how struggle is faced, endured, and integrated into the journey of life, as Part 4 concluded. He recognized that the culmination of his observation was near. The moments ahead would reveal the final truths he sought. He remained patient, aware that the most profound revelations often emerge when least expected. And as he continued to watch, he understood that love, in its truest form, is enduring, resilient, and revealed in the choices we make, the actions we take, and the ways we navigate the complexities of life and human connection. As the months passed, he knew that the time to reveal himself was drawing near. His observations had provided clarity beyond what he had hoped for. He had watched her navigate grief, challenge, independence, and vulnerability. And each moment had deepened his understanding of her character and the authenticity of her love. The journey had been long, filled with uncertainty, but it had proven invaluable in revealing the depth of human emotion. He planned his return carefully. The reveal had to be meaningful, not sudden or disruptive. He wanted her to feel the weight of what she had endured, the resilience she had shown, and the truth that her actions had spoken louder than any words could. He arranged to be seen in a place that held shared significance, a cafe, where they had spent countless mornings together, a place that symbolized connection, comfort, and shared memories. When she arrived, she was carrying on with her life, not knowing that the moment she had unconsciously anticipated was about to arrive. She moved with grace and composure, yet there was a subtle tension in her posture, a reflection of months spent processing absence and longing. He could see how her strength had been tested, how she had adapted, how she had preserved the essence of their bond despite uncertainty. He stepped forward, and for a moment she froze. The shock on her face mirrored the exact human response he had imagined countless times in his mind. She looked around, perhaps searching for a trick, a misdirection, or a hidden camera, unsure if her eyes could be trusted. When she finally recognized him, a mix of disbelief, joy, and relief washed over her features. Tears welled in her eyes, but they were joined by a radiant smile, the expression of someone who had endured and emerged with love intact. They embraced. A moment filled with years of accumulated emotion, grief, longing, relief, and affirmation. In that embrace, he felt the culmination of his careful observation and her genuine devotion. He realized that love, in its truest form, is revealed through endurance, through consistent choices, and through the quiet actions that define daily life. Her embrace confirmed what he had hoped to see. Her love was authentic, resilient, and profound. In the days that followed, they spoke openly about what had occurred. She recounted the months she had lived with his absence, the struggles she faced, and the ways she had grown. She admitted moments of doubt, moments of temptation, and moments of fear. But she also expressed the conscious decisions she had made to honor their connection. Her honesty was humbling, her reflection revealing the depth of her integrity and the authenticity of her love. He listened, absorbing every detail. He understood that love is not proven through dramatic tests alone, but through sustained commitment, resilience, and honesty. He saw how she had balanced personal growth with loyalty, how she had navigated uncertainty without compromising her values, and how she had preserved the emotional and ethical foundation of their relationship. Her love was not naive or idealized. It was real, grounded, and enduring. They also discussed the moral implications of his experiment. He acknowledged the pain and uncertainty he had caused, the ethical dilemmas he had navigated, and the weight of his decision. She listened with empathy, recognizing that the journey had revealed truths for both of them. Their conversation deepened their connection, demonstrating that transparency, reflection, and accountability are as critical to love as affection and commitment. As they spent time together, he observed her continued growth and resilience. She engaged with her world, nurtured meaningful relationships, and balanced personal ambition with shared responsibility. She had not become dependent on the test or the outcome. She had evolved, showing that love thrives when paired with self-awareness and agency. Their interactions now reflected mutual respect, understanding, and renewed commitment to authenticity. He realized that the experience had transformed him as well. Watching her navigate absence, challenge, and personal growth had taught him empathy, patience, and the complexity of human emotion. He understood that love is not simply a feeling to be measured or verified. It is a process, a series of choices and actions that unfold over time. He learned to value authenticity over certainty, resilience over simplicity, connection over control. Together, they began to rebuild their shared life. Their conversations were richer, their interactions more nuanced, and their bond strengthened by the trials they had navigated. The lessons of absence, observation, and reflection informed their renewed connection. They approached the future with a shared understanding of the complexity of love and the importance of intentional choices. Emotional honesty and resilience, the months of separation and observation, revealed the profound truth that love is both fragile and enduring. It requires vulnerability, honesty, and the willingness to face uncertainty. It is strengthened not only through moments of joy and connection, but also through endurance, reflection, and thoughtful action. Her love had proven resilient, and his understanding of her character had deepened immeasurably. In the final moments of this journey, he reflected on the lessons they had both learned. Love is not a static or predictable force. It is dynamic, evolving, and revealed through both action and inaction. True love is resilient, authentic, and capable of surviving absence and uncertainty when grounded in honesty, commitment, and mutual respect. He understood that testing love through deception was fraught with risk, but he also recognized that the experience had illuminated truths about human connection that might otherwise have remained hidden. As they continued forward together, their bond was stronger, richer, and more profound. They approached life with a new awareness of the fragility and resilience of love, the importance of authenticity, and the value of shared growth. The experiment had ended, but the lessons endured. Their love was no longer a question of testing or doubt. It was a lived reality, proven not through spectacle, but through enduring connection, thoughtful choice, and unwavering authenticity. After the emotional reunion, their lives slowly returned to a rhythm of shared days, yet the experience had changed everything. No longer were their interactions defined by assumptions or routine. Instead, every moment carried depth, awareness, and an appreciation for the fragility and resilience of love. He observed the subtle ways she approached life, the choices she made with intentionality, and the care she took to nurture not only their relationship, but her own growth. The months that followed were filled with quiet reflection and intentional connection. They spent mornings in the park, afternoons in their favorite cafes, and evenings discussing the experiences they had both undergone. He listened attentively as she spoke about the challenges she had faced, the personal growth she had achieved, and the unexpected clarity she had gained about herself and their bond. Her words painted a picture of someone who had endured, evolved, and emerged with authenticity and strength. He noticed how she approached the world differently now. Her empathy had deepened. She became more patient with friends, more attentive to the needs of those around her, and more deliberate in her interactions. Her resilience, once tested in the shadow of his absence, now became a guiding principle in her daily life. She no longer rushed decisions or allowed fear to dictate her choices. Every step she took reflected a combination of wisdom, courage, and emotional awareness. Their conversations often turned to reflection on what had been learned. She spoke openly about moments of doubt, moments of fear, and the temptation to take shortcuts in emotional commitment. Yet she emphasized how she had chosen authenticity over convenience, commitment over comfort. Her reflections demonstrated a deep understanding of the complexities of human emotion and the strength required to navigate love in its most genuine form. He also observed how she managed practical aspects of life with care and precision. The home was maintained with balance and warmth. Finances were organized with foresight. Responsibilities were shared with thoughtfulness. He realized that love manifests not only in words or gestures, but in everyday actions, in decisions made quietly and consistently, and in the care given to the shared environment and future. Through this time, He began to understand the full scope of her resilience. She handled unexpected challenges with grace, sought solutions with patience, and navigated emotional complexity without losing her sense of self. He saw her continue to nurture friendships, support family, and engage with her community, demonstrating that love is intertwined with integrity, responsibility, and empathy. Her growth had not been temporary. It had become a permanent aspect of her character. He was particularly struck by her ability to balance past memories with future aspirations. She honored the experiences they had shared, preserved meaningful rituals, spoke openly about the impact of absence, yet she also embraced opportunities for personal and shared growth. She sought new experiences, engaged in creative pursuits, and explored aspects of herself that had been previously dormant. Her love for him was evident, yet it was now enhanced by a broader, more holistic understanding of herself and their relationship. Their shared life became richer and more deliberate. Small gestures, once taken for granted, now held greater significance. A thoughtful note, a shared meal, a quiet moment together all became opportunities to reinforce connection, understanding, and appreciation. They were not merely living alongside each other. They were actively participating in a relationship that had been tested, refined, and strengthened by experience. He also noticed how they both embraced vulnerability more openly. Conversations that might once have been avoided were now approached with honesty, empathy, and curiosity. They discussed fears, past mistakes, and desires for the future without defensiveness or judgment. This openness created a sense of safety and mutual understanding, reinforcing the authenticity of their bond and highlighting the depth of trust that had been cultivated through trials. During this period, he observed her interactions with the wider world. She exhibited kindness and patience in ways that were noticeable yet unobtrusive, whether helping a neighbor, offering support to a friend, or simply engaging with strangers. Her actions reflected a generosity of spirit and emotional awareness that stemmed from her experiences. He realized that love is not confined to romantic connection. It radiates outward, shaping character, behavior, and perspective. They also engaged in shared goals, planning for the future with clarity and intention. Decisions about finances, lifestyle, and personal growth were made collaboratively, reflecting a partnership built on mutual respect and understanding. The lessons learned from the absence and the observation had informed not only their emotional connection, but their practical approach to life together. Their love had evolved into a balanced, thoughtful, and sustainable relationship. He found himself reflecting on the journey itself. The experiment, initially conceived to test her devotion, had transformed into a profound exploration of human emotion, resilience, and authenticity. He had learned that love cannot be tested through manipulation or absence alone. It is revealed through sustained commitment, intentional action, and the willingness to navigate complexity together. Observing her growth had also revealed his own need for empathy, patience, and self-awareness. There were moments of quiet joy that contrasted with the intensity of previous months. They laughed together more freely, shared stories and memories without reservation, and celebrated small victories and milestones. These moments reinforced the depth of their bond, showing that love thrives not only through trials, but also through shared appreciation, playfulness, and genuine connection. He observed how she continued to nurture herself alongside their relationship. She pursued interests, engaged in creative expression, and sought personal fulfillment without neglecting their shared life. This balance demonstrated a profound understanding that love does not require the sacrifice of identity. Instead, flourishes when both partners grow individually while remaining committed to the shared bond. As Part 6 drew on, he recognized the full spectrum of what they had endured and achieved together. The absence had revealed truth, the observation had clarified authenticity, and the reunion had deepened connection. The months of reflection, growth, intentionality had created a relationship that was resilient, authentic, and sustainable. They had learned that love is not static. It evolves through experience, challenge, and conscious choice. He realized that the ultimate lesson of this journey was that love is revealed not through certainty, control, or tests, but through ongoing presence, care, and mutual respect. It requires empathy, patience, and a willingness to embrace complexity. True love is durable not because it is easy, but because it is cultivated through understanding, reflection, and intentional action in the quiet moments of shared life. He observed her authenticity, resilience, and capacity for love with renewed appreciation. She had navigated uncertainty, endured challenges, and emerged with integrity and depth. Their bond, once questioned and tested, now stood as a testament to the power of authenticity, the importance of growth, and the enduring strength of love nurtured through experience as they moved forward together. He understood that the journey had shaped them both. They approached life with awareness, intentionality, and appreciation for the nuances of human emotion. Love, he realized, is a living practice, one that grows through action, reflection, and shared experience. Part 6 concluded with the recognition that the relationship they had forged was not merely a story of reunion, but a testament to the enduring, evolving, and resilient nature of authentic love.